During the last episode, we played around with the idea that trust was crucial and that in business it is mandatory. Otherwise, you cannot trust that people will deliver on the terms and conditions that you had agreed to. But we also realized that generalized trust is much wider and higher in the Northern Europe and by extension in the US than it is in Latin America or most other relational societies like in Africa, Middle East and Asia. In Latin America, perhaps the worst trusting of them all are the Brazilians and the Colombians. But Colombia is coming out of an internal war lasting 50 years. Brazil is not doing much better, but this is something that you have to take into account because the level of trust in Brazil is perhaps 1/10 of what you find in Scandinavia, perhaps even less than that. So let us look at in a deeper way into what I consider is crucial in the analysis. Here we have the map, my mind map, of societies, their cultural factors, and how they get organized. Now, it may look complicated and too vast, but I will simplify it. Look first at the top left. We have the cultural foundations of the Germanic context, that is Scandinavians, Germany, and also the US and England. And it's run by individualism, extended trust, and rule-based authority. It goes without saying. Yet in Mediterranean clan context, and also African ones and Asians, the real rule is kinship, clanliness, and trust is bestowed upon the people in the in-group, not so much people that they don't know. And because it's relational, paternalistic authority is the one to be taken for granted. Now, if you put these two together here, on the lower part, you have the consequences of applying the rule-based, bureaucratic, impersonal control, individual accountability, and goal-driven KPIs of the German monad into the Latin American or the clan-based society. And the result is decreased engagement. Low productivity is a consequence. The workers are alienated and there's lack of legitimacy about who has the right to rule. Now this is in abstract. What if we look into specific type of popular organizations in those societies? On the top part, we would have the Brazilian samba schools. These are like a family-like structure. They start in neighborhoods, and then they bring people by affinity. I mean, friends bring in friends. And there are no pecuniary rewards. 4,000 people dress up, practiced, on the date and time agreed, and they deliver a world-class show with high collective trust. I mean, anything can go wrong in an organization where people are not paid and it's run only by trust. But yes, people step in and help each other. And the Indian Dabbawalas operate under a similar rule. They are recruited in villages, Pune particularly, and they deliver tiffin boxes, thousands of them, with no mistakes. Why? Because there is pride in doing the work well done. There's communal pride, and nobody will let the other down. And if somebody is sick, somebody will step in, and they will owe to each other, but not to the organization. There is emotional unity. And I've analyzed this with my colleagues in India, Pritam Singh, wonderful person, unfortunately already deceased, and Asha Bandarkar. You can find this paper, interesting paper, in Thunderbird International Business Review. Now, why is it that I argue that it's difficult to apply a northern, Germanic context into a relational one? Because there will be a friction there, institutional friction, right? And it leads to the productivity paradox. The people will not trust, will not work, they'll feel alienated, they will drag their feet. And when you try to do it, then you miss the lever that makes people work. So essentially, it's bad management for the wrong people. And we have to take this into account, because if what we want is high productivity in Latin America and catch up with the Americans someday, someday, then we have to learn to manage ourselves in the ways that we expect. Because if we have over time the time that it takes to increase productivity and the level of trust and effectiveness measured in the ordinates and the y-axis, if you hire impersonally, it will take you very long because the progress will be slow. Excellent people will be hired from the market. The higher you can pay, and you bring them in, but they won't be trusted, so they will take time to be effective. On the other hand, if you hire them for affinity, they might not be as good, but they will try their best to make sure that they will not let their team down. So this is the essence of it. We will come back to this later on, but for now, what matters is you have to remember that people are different across the world. There are different levels of trust, and if you apply the wrong managerial technique to the people, they will not be as productive as you would wish. Thank you very much for staying with me. This is for the next episode. This is the managerial grid, comparing bit by bit in management of what is done differently. Stay with me and we'll have great fun together.